Hi guys, welcome back to So Crafty Nana. My name is Teresa and I'm an independent demonstrator with Stampin Up. And today I have another card video for you. Today we're going to talk about casing cards. So what is casing? I've heard it referred to a lot of different ways. Most times it's copy and share everywhere, but it can be a lot of different things. So I've heard it referred to different ways, but essentially what you're doing when you case a card is you're taking an idea from somewhere else, whether that's another card maker or a catalog or whatever, Instagram, you know, whatever you choose to look through, Pinterest, all of that. So in any case, what I'm doing today is I'm going to case some cards from our mini catalog. So this is something that I love to do, and I've done it since I started card making. I've tried, you know, really strictly casing a card, so following the card recipe, cutting it exactly, using exactly the same supplies, and that's fine, and I've done that before, but most of the time I look at a picture and I make guesses, or I change it up. I get an inspiration from it. So today I'm using the mini catalog. There were so many ideas. I decided to only use the pages in the back of the catalog where it shows you the bundles. So it starts with page 67, and I went ahead and I just looked through at some of the bundles that I had and tried to decide which cards. There were a lot to choose from. So I chose 4, and I'm going to show you the 4 cards once we go down to my table, and we're going to remake one of them, one of the 4 again. So, and I'll show you a comparison of what it looks like in the catalog versus what I did. A lot of times I change things up by changing the sentiment because the sentiment isn't exactly what I like to use. But in most of these, I did the same thing. I did change one of them just somewhat. So let's go ahead and go through the whole housekeeping things. If you like this video, I would really appreciate it if you would give me a like. If you would like to see more of my videos, please hit that subscribe button and hit the notification bell so you're notified when I upload another video. Most of my videos are card making, but I do have another scrapbooking video coming up as well. And I do have one scrapbooking video on my channel. I'll link that up in the cards, so if you want to take a look at that, you can. But most of mine are in my cards and I think it's called Cards, and More Cards playlist. But anyway, most of my videos are cards. So let's go ahead and get started. I'll take you down to the table and we'll see what I've got today. Okay. So here's what I have for you today. I'm going to move the catalog out of the way just so I can show you some of these samples. So we'll go ahead and we'll start with this one. This is using the Sending Love bundle. It's a really cool bundle with this little mailbox, and you've got the little working flag, a little envelope on there. Now, I didn't put anything on the inside of this card because of the sentiment. It'll probably be something that I'll just write in. So that's one of the samples, and let me show you that sample in the catalog so you can kind of see it side by side. So you can see the catalog sample and my sample, pretty similar. I really tried to use the same product that they used in the catalog. I guessed on the measurements, you know, of the white panel and that sort of thing. I used the same designer series paper. I used the same embellishment, the little flowers. I guessed that it was granny apple green cardstock for the leaves or the grass, but I don't know exactly what it was. So mine turned out pretty close to what the card sample in the catalog is. The only thing I think you can't really see a lot in the catalog is the little cancellation. It's on there, but I think they probably used like 3rd or 4th generation. It's very, very light. on the blue cardstock, and I couldn't tell if they used gray or if they used blue, but I used the same balmy blue that I used the cardstock, and I used second and third generation for mine, but my ink pad is very, very juicy, so that's probably why it's a bit darker. And then the same for this, they probably used third generation for the gray, for the little cancellation. I don't even know if you can see that in the picture or on the camera, but in mine I used second generation because I really liked that feature and I really wanted to show it. So that card turned out pretty similar. So then the next one I'll show you is, let's see, the Hooray for Surprises. Let's look at this one. So this one was a little different. So this is the one in the catalog, as you can see, and it was a little bit harder to figure out what they did on their card. So I'm not really sure how they got that effect of the white background with the green dots on the floral one, because the stamp is a solid stamp. So I'm not sure if that's white embossed. I'm not really sure. But in any case, I thought it looked really nice, just stamped with shaded spruce. So my card base is shaded spruce, and so I just stamped it on a white, on basic white, and cut it out with the die cut and the sentiment. And then this one I made into a Valentine's Day card because I thought it was very pretty. So that's going out to someone for Valentine's Day. So not exactly the same. Quite a bit, really that heart is really different. Other than that, I did pretty much the same. And I also wasn't sure what their strip was. I couldn't really tell if it's a yellow or a green, or which green. I ended up using lemon lime twist for mine. So either way, I mean, I think it turned out pretty close to the catalog. So then the next one is going to be this one, Everyday Details. This one took me a while. This one, I couldn't get that background the same as theirs. So you can see how their background is. Mine I tried multiple times. You can see there's a scrap of mine. I tried doing it different ways. I ended up with the same idea as theirs, but mine are just not quite spaced like theirs are. So it's very similar. I did change the sentiment on here because the overjoyed for you, that sentiment just wasn't, on this journey, it wasn't something that I could think of that I would use anytime coming up. So I thought You Are Simply Amazing would be perfectly fine because I could use that for a thank you note or anything like that. So this one turned out pretty close. Another couple of things that I did differently, my embellishments are a little bit different. And then I went ahead and I put it together or laid it out, dry fit it. I didn't like this stark white in the background, so I just ink blended a little bit of Calypso Coral on that circle before I put down the nest. And so that's a little bit different, but pretty close to the catalog sample. And then the last one, which is the one we're going to recreate today, is the Beach Day bundle. And so this is the Beach Day bundle picture in the catalog. And this is my sample. Now, one thing you'll notice right away is I did use a different blue. It looks like they used boho blue, and I used balmy blue for my sky, and also for coloring on the little beach house or guard station, or whatever you want to call it, lifeguard station. I also, I think I used Daffodil Delight, and it looks like maybe they used Lemon Lolly. I'm not really sure, but similar, very, very similar. I colored my beach ball a little different, and I did use the same sentiment. I did use the same papers, I think, that they used. And I think it turned out really good. I really enjoyed doing this one. That's why we're gonna do it again today. Now, another thing is, I think technique-wise, their sky and sand looks like it might be watercolor. So they may have done that with like a water brush and ink, where I did mine as ink blending, and I went all the way to the edges where they sort of kept it towards the middle and have a little bit of a white border. You know, personal preference there. I really enjoy ink blending, and I also wanted a brighter blue sky, so that's kind of why I went with the balmy blue instead of boho. But really, really close. And on this one, I made it a birthday card. So wishing you a beautiful day and happy birthday on the inside. So that's the one we're gonna recreate today. We're gonna use the same colors that I used here, except I think I am gonna change the yellow out for Lemon Lolly, and we'll see what that looks like, just because I think that it'll go better with this background paper. So I've got everything to the side. Let me go ahead and clear my desk, and I'll be right back. Okay, so the paper that we're going to be using, the designer series paper, I just wanted to show you that really quickly. It's the Be Mine designer series paper, and so it was this yellow sort of plaid looking pattern that I think they used in the sample, and that's what I used in mine. So I've got a scrap of that we're going to use. I'm going to set the rest of that over to the side. And so we're going to start with our card base, which is crumb cake. And now I did these as side fold cards. I did all four of my samples side fold. You could totally do this as a top fold. So whatever your preference is, I'm gonna go ahead and cut this at 5.5. And then I'm gonna score it at 4.25. So just your basic card base, side fold card base. Fold that there. And we'll burnish that in a minute. Get that out of the way. Trying to be a neater crafter here, so we'll see if that works for today. Then my next layer, my designer series paper layer, is your standard layer on a card. So it is 4 by 5.25. So I'm going to cut this at 4 by 5.25. All right, there's my layer. Get that out of the way. And then our white panel that goes on the top, get this right over here, is going to be 3.5 by 4.75. And again, this is just me guessing at what the layers, you know, sort of what the border looked like. So 3.5. by 4.75. I probably need to put my glasses on. That would be really helpful. I think I'll do that. Okay, so that's going to be the layer that we're going to color. And then while I'm here with the white, I'm going to go ahead and cut a, let's see if this is, nope, that's only 5. So let's cut this at 5.25 by 4. So this is going to be my inside piece, 4 by 5.25, your standard inside piece for my sentiment inside. So there's the pieces to the card, and then I've got scraps over here for stamping and die cutting. So I think we can go ahead and put this away, and I'm going to pull out a piece of paper, because the next thing we're going to do is ink blend this panel here. So I've got a couple of blending brushes, and I've got crumb cake ink and balmy blue ink, and it doesn't matter which one you start with. I'll go ahead and start with my crumb cake. And the only thing I did was I sort of made it go a little bit lighter off the edge, just to sort of give depth to the sand. So I am not an expert ink blender. So I don't know if my technique is the best to show you, but I'm just gonna go ahead and do this on here. Get me some ink on there. Just tap off a little bit so we don't get a really dark, oh, and I just did. Okay, we're gonna turn that over and we're gonna try again. Because what I don't want is a really dark spot in the middle of my sand. And I'm going about 2/3 of the way, or I'm sorry, 1/3 of the way up, because I want about 2/3 of it to be sky. And you just, with ink blending, you just have to do it slowly and build the color on there. That's sort of how, you know, what I've learned. And I don't mind getting this darkness on the outside. I actually sort of prefer that. It kind of frames it in. So I don't mind that. I like kind of coming in from each side so I can get that little bit of a framing on there. Again, that's personal preference. You can do it however you prefer. I'm going to go ahead and try to get a little bit darker to lighter here. And this just takes a little bit of time and some patience, because you don't want to push down on your blending brush. You just want to layer and layer and layer. And I really want this to be kind of back and forth, not so much round, circular, but I do blend it out in a little bit of a circular way. All right, we're gonna need to get a little bit more up in here. The center section. That's better. Coming down. There we go. The circular motions just sort of soften if there's any streakiness there. Okay, I kind of like that. It's darker and kind of comes a little lighter in the middle. I think I'm good with that for now. Let's go ahead and do some sky. And again, this is Balmy Blue I have. And this is a pretty juicy ink pad. And I want to get blue across the whole thing so that I don't have any stark white. Now, I know in the sample in the catalog they did have some white around the edges, but in my sample I didn't, and I'm gonna go with the same here. Okay, so now that I've got a little bit of blue on, I want to get some darker areas, so something towards the top maybe. And then I want to sort of leave a little bit and get another little darker spot here. And then I'm going to do a little bit of circular to just smooth out any lines that are in there. And I think I like that. I want to go with a little bit darker of the brown, just maybe right in the center here. Totally personal preference on how you want to do this. All right. I think that looks good. So I'll go ahead and close that up. Actually, I'm going to need my crumb cake for stamping, so let me clear these out of the way. And I'm going to bring in some of my scraps that I'm going to stamp on. I'm not quite sure how big I'm going to need. Let's pull my stamps over. I'm going to need this one, which isn't gonna fit there, isn't gonna fit there. So I am gonna need that bigger piece for that one. And then I've got this one and my little bird and my little beach ball. So I think all of those will fit on that one little strip. And I can move these out of the way. And then this is for a die cut of the grass when we're ready to die cut. So I'm going to grab a few blocks. I think I'll need this bigger block for this. Okay, and let's see. I think I can use this for this one. I might want to put that on sideways. Let's see. There we go. And then let's turn this over, and grab those up with some little blocks. There we go. Okay, I'm going to set this aside. And I'm going to need Tuxedo Memento Black, or Memento Tuxedo Black. I always say that backwards. And I'm going to need Petal Pink. Those are the inks that I'm using. So I'm using the Petal Pink for the surfboard. Just make sure that looks good. Looks good. Sorry if I'm wiggling the table when I clean my stamps. Got my Stampin' Scrub over to the side. And then I'm going to use Crumb Cake for my little bird, seagull. There we go. And then I'm going to use Tuxedo Memento Black for my little beach ball. I hope I'm in frame on all of this. I wasn't really paying attention. I'm getting in the zone. So let me get some of these inks out of the way. And then this is the big one that we have to stamp. And I just got it all over my hand. Not very smart. And we just are getting an outline here. And I'll stamp that down. All right, looking good. That stamp cleaned off. Finished with those. And then the next thing we're going to do is color. So I'm coloring these with my Stampin' Blends markers. I have pulled in Crumb Cake, light and dark. I have Petal Pink, light and dark. I have Lemon Lolly, light and dark. And then I have Balmy Blue, light and dark. So the Petal Pink, I just want the light, and I'm just going to color in the surfboard a little bit. And I'm doing this sort of streaky. I'm not worrying too much about wonderful color coverage on here. And again, that's totally personal preference. You could stamp this surfboard in any color you want and color it in any color you want. I just wanted it to be all solid like that. And then I'm doing the dark, dark Petal Pink for this little flag up here. And this is hard to color without putting my head in the way. There we go. So I'm not trying to do anything super perfect. I think I'm going to do light Balmy Blue and probably light Lemon Lolly for the little beach ball. And this is such a small image. You don't have to worry about any kind of shading or anything like that. We are just getting some color in here in between each of these lines. And you'll notice I'm just really dabbing this color on, just kind of dotting, and it just fills in. All right, so those 3 images are ready. I'm not coloring the seagull. I just wanted the outline in that Crumb Cake rather than a dark black. And then we're just gonna die cut all of those shapes. And then we are going to get back to this. I'm gonna take light crumb cake, and I'm just gonna very lightly color. Is this light or dark? Yes, this is light. I'm just gonna very lightly color the outline or the wood part of the, like the, what am I saying? Lifeguard shed. There we go. Okay. And I may go ahead and speed this up a little bit while I finish coloring. Okay, so we're all colored, and I'm gonna go ahead and die cut these images. So we've got this to die cut this. We've got our surfboard. Gotta get this out of the way. And our grass piece. Oh my goodness, if I can pick it up. So we've got our grass piece, we've got our surfboard, here's our seagull, and here's our beach ball. So I'm gonna step aside to the side of my desk. I'm gonna go ahead and cut these out, and I'll be right back. Okay, so we've got all of our pieces cut out, die cut. And so the next thing we're ready to do is assemble. And you know what? I did not do a sentiment yet. So I just realized that I left my sentiment off. So let me go ahead and do that really quickly. We will stamp that. I think we'll go ahead and stamp wishing you a beautiful day. So that's this one. Let me grab a block. And we'll do this in Tuxedo Memento Black. Beautiful. Okay, so that's done. And then for the sample that I did, I just went ahead and cut this out and just angle cut the edges. So I'm just going to go ahead and do the same thing here. Just going to cut it on my trimmer, make it approximately, I don't know, 3/4 of an inch. The other one I did was narrower than this, but I kind of like maybe a little more meat to it. I'm not sure if that is straight. It doesn't look straight to me. There we go. I think that looks straighter. Yep. And I'm just going to go ahead and cut the edge straight, and we'll leave this one as a rectangle. I think that'll work. So again, you know, personal preference, you can do like I did in the other sample. I cut it a little bit narrower and then I just angle cut the edges. For this one, I think I'll go ahead and I'll just leave it straight like that. So let's go ahead and start assembling. I'm not going to do my inside. I will do that later, only because I'm not sure if I want this to be another birthday card, and I'd rather stamp my inside piece before I put it in. So I think we'll go ahead and assemble this. My little glue. I'm using my multi-purpose glue. You use whatever adhesive of your choice that you prefer. There we go. And then you could, couple of options, you could dry fit and put everything on here flat and then pop this up on dimensionals, or you could go ahead and put this flat and then pop elements up, which is what I did on the original card that I did. I popped up the seagull and I popped up these embellishments down here, and then I put everything else flat. I guess it really, you know, it's personal preference. Maybe on this one, we'll go ahead and assemble it and pop the whole panel up. I think we'll do that on this one. So let's go ahead and arrange it how we'd like it arranged. Want my sentiment up here. It'll hang off a little bit, which is fine. And my little seagull will go up here. I could even put it on the sentiment strip like that. And then these will go down here. So I think I'm going to go ahead and start assembling. Start with our sentiment. Oops, glob of glue there. And I'm just kind of eyeballing about 1/4 of an inch down as being my spot to put it. And then I will just put a teeny bit of glue on this guy. I think my glue is getting like down to like half full, and when it gets that way, it's either you have to shake it to the bottom really hard and then a whole bunch comes out, or you can't get anything out of it. All right, I like that. Now we'll go ahead, we'll go ahead and put this one down. Yes. Here we go. And what I'm looking at here is just to try to make these legs look symmetrical or straight, I guess, so that my lifeguard station isn't wonky. And then I'll just tap everything down. Okay, that looks good. And then I think we'll put our surfboard down at a little bit of an angle here, like that. Got something on there. Okay, and then we'll put our grass, which is going to hold that down. Hold that for a second, and then we'll add our little beach ball to the corner like that. So now we've got everything down. I may have to stick a little more glue under there. Make sure everything's down flat. And then I have some strips that are left over from, I think, a paper pumpkin kit that we will use for the back of this to put it up. You absolutely would not need to do this. I like dimension. I like using dimensionals, and I like popping things up. So again, personal preference. Do what you like to do and what appeals to you. And on the first one, I only popped up a few of the elements. But I like dimension. So I always turn it over and feel how stable that feels, and I think that feels pretty stable to me. And now I can go ahead and peel and stick. So as I'm doing this, I'll just circle back to casing cards. So always think about casing cards as a way of sparking your creativity or giving you new ideas. It's nice to see something that appeals to you and then put your own little spin on it. I just think that really gives you a good feeling when you do that. So there's my final, and I'm not going to embellish this with anything else. You totally could. You know, you could, I'm thinking glitter, sparkle. You could add some Wink of Stella in that sky to make it sort of glimmery. You know, I could have put some yellow up there to create a sunshine coming down. There's a lot of things you could do to this scene, but I just think it's a really pretty card. So here's my two side by side, so you can see the difference of popping up elements versus popping up the whole panel. The little bit of difference between the Lemon Lolly and the Daffodil Delight that I used. But really, essentially, they're exactly the same materials that I used for each one of them. Oops, I don't want to drop them. And they turned out pretty similar. So I think that's all I have for you today. Again, if you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. I really appreciate it. If you would like to see more, I would love it if you would subscribe. So hit that subscription and hit the notification bell so that you'll be notified when I upload another video. My next one is probably going to be scrapbooking, and then I'll be back to card making. But go ahead and give yourself a shot. Try to case a card. Just grab a catalog, use it for ideas, and I would love to hear in the comments below if you've cased cards and what you do. Do you follow that recipe exactly and make it exactly the same, or do you use it for inspiration and just change it up? So I'd love to hear more about that. I don't see a lot of videos of people casing cards, so I would really love to know if other people do that a lot. I do all the time. That's sort of what sparks my creativity, and then I can go from there. So I'd love to hear from you. If you'd like to leave me a comment, I'll be happy to get back to you on that if you have any questions. And I love reading your comments. Anything constructive is helpful. Any ideas you have to help me be more creative, I'd love to hear from you. So thank you so much for spending your time with me today, and I'll see you next time. Bye.